Arrogance and systematic underestimation of the enemy is a constant shortcoming of the Russian military machine and Russia as a whole. This explains why, despite having significantly more resources and equipment, Russia has not been able to destroy Ukraine. Military analyst and former Pentagon consultant Ruben Johnson illustrates this Russian feature in an article for 1945 using the example of the use of guided air bombs, GAB. Their appearance became a big problem for the Ukrainian Armed Forces, but over time these weapons were made ineffective. Russian fighter bombers dropped guided bombs daily on both the forward positions of the defense forces at the front and on the front line regional centers of Kharkov and Zaporozhye. The peak of these strikes occurred in September last year, when Russian aircraft dropped more than 900 guided bombs in 1 week. As Johnson notes, thanks to a modern electronic guidance and course correction system, such bombs could accurately hit their intended targets, and a large explosive charge led to devastating consequences at the point of impact. This gave the Russians the opportunity to burn the Ukrainian rear and break the path of infantry on the front lines, the analyst writes. However, over time, the Ukrainians were able to create an electronic warfare system that made Russian guided aerial bombs extremely inaccurate and therefore ineffective despite their high power. The system called LIMA is a combination of simple signal jamming, coordinate substitution and an information cyber attack on the navigation receiver of the guided bomb's guidance system. After the deployment of the electronic warfare system, the bombing accuracy first began to decrease, and then, realizing the ineffectiveness of this method of destruction and the impossibility of achieving the set goal, the enemy stopped bombing rear facilities altogether, the system's manufacturer explained. At that time, the Russians concentrated on bombing the advanced positions of the Ukrainian Armed Forces at the front, but at a certain point the Ukrainians managed to build an electronic wall on the front line, which neutralized the cabs. Instead of hitting the strongholds of the defense forces, the Russian bombs flew wherever they could, sometimes hitting the positions of Russian troops, Johnson writes. One of Russia's weaknesses that never goes away is that they seem to think they are still in Syria or Chechnya or some African country, somewhere where the enemy has no technical skills and no ability to fight back within the electromagnetic spectrum. It is their arrogance and their inability to adapt to the battlefield as quickly as we do that allows us to beat them every time. A representative of a Ukrainian company that produces electronic warfare systems told the author of the article.
U.S. and Russian negotiators on Monday sat down for talks in Saudi Arabia on a partial ceasefire in Ukraine, hours after a round of negotiations between U.S. and Ukrainian delegations, Russian news report said. According to the Russian state TV, the negotiations had begun in the Ritz-Carlton Hotel in the capital Riyadh. The meeting is expected to be followed by another contact between U.S. and Ukrainian teams. According to Associated Press, the separate meetings are set to discuss details of a pause in long-range attacks from both Russia and Ukraine against energy facilities and civilian infrastructure, as well as a halt on attacks in the Black Sea to ensure safe commercial shipping. Ukraine and Russia agreed in principle Wednesday to a limited ceasefire after U.S. President Donald Trump spoke with the country's leaders, but the parties have offered different views of what targets would be off-limits to attack and accused each other of undermining efforts to reach a pause. While the White House said energy and infrastructure would be covered, the Kremlin declared that the agreement referred more narrowly to energy infrastructure. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenski said he would also like railways and ports to be protected. Over 34,000 people participated in anti-Trump and pro-democracy rally in Denver, Colorado on Friday, March 21. The rally was held as part of Fight the Oligarchy tour of Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Senator Bernie Sanders, the two Democrats who spoke against oligarchy and authoritarianism under the Donald Trump's administration. The rally was the largest in Denver since 2008. Addressing the crowd, Bernie Sanders accused President Donald Trump of pursuing unconstitutional policies aimed at undermining the powers of the Congress and the First Amendment. "Mr. President, turn off the Fox TV and take a few moments to read the Constitution of the United States," Sanders said. Posting on X, Sanders wrote, "The message is clear. No to authoritarianism. No to oligarchy. No to Trumpism." In turn, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez accused Trump of selling out our country to the richest people on the planet. In particular, she slammed Trump for what she described as handing the keys of the federal government to billionaire Elon Musk. The Israeli military said that it struck Hezbollah command centers, infrastructure sites, terrorists, rocket launchers, and a weapons storage facility throughout Lebanon on Saturday. According to Associated Press, Israel said it launched airstrikes on several locations in Lebanon in retaliation for a rocket attack, Saturday. Saturday's strikes killed 6 people, in the heaviest exchange of fire since its ceasefire with the militant group Hezbollah began nearly 4 months ago. Hezbollah denied being responsible for Saturday's rocket attack and said it is committed to the truce. The Israeli army said in a statement that it cannot confirm the identity of the organization that fired the rockets.